Hey y'all, good evening. It's Sunday and it is 8 o'clock Eastern, and this is Mary from Stamps-N-Lingers. I'm so glad that you could join me, for those who are able to get on. Tonight we're going to do a little playing with the Eastern Beauty stamp set and the matching Eastern medallions. I had a request to go back over these a little bit, and so that's what we're going to do tonight. Here's the card that we'll make. I put a sneak peek out on the blog post this morning, and I hope you saw it and that you're excited to see how to make this card. So let's see if we can make this work. Hi Linda, hey Karen, I'm glad that you were able to join. Is your video working? I've got, it's an interesting screen that I've got. I'm going to do another little refresh before I get started, if you don't mind, just so I can see what in the world is happening here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Thanks, Karen. You guys are getting it. Okay, excellent. All right, so this is the card that we're making tonight, but before I get going, I want to give you a sneak peek at another card that I made. I don't know if y'all know it, but each month we have a tutorial. We call it an online tutorial, but it's really only online in that it's digits. And 5 or 6 or 7 of us get together and we each contribute a project with a singular stamp set or bundle that we concentrate on. Hey Kathy, hey Jean, I'm glad you and Sharon are with me tonight. So anyway, the July tutorial uses the new beautiful bouquet stamp set and the matching bouquet bunch. And the way that you get that is, one, to be in my online host club. If you are in those clubs, then you automatically receive access to all of the tutorials and you can go back and look at them online anytime. Or if you're not a member of my host club, then if you place an order with me through my online store, then as part of my thank you to you, I will send you that online tutorial. So the July tutorial, as I said, is using the beautiful bouquet stamp set and matching bouquet bunch framelits. And this is the card that I have submitted. And I'm just going to show you a little sneak peek. So if you are interested in knowing how to make this card, then please, well, it's too late to sign up for this time around's online host club. Those are both closed. But if you place an order with me in July, this is one of the projects that you will learn how to make. So there's that. Now I'm going to put it away because I've been looking at it all day, and it is, thank you very much, Karen. Hey, Robbie, good to have you on. Every time I look at it, I was cutting out the cardstock for this card, and I kept thinking, okay, now I got to get out my oval framelits and my embossing. No, wrong card, Mary. So I'm easily confusable. All right, so this is the card that we're making today. It says a note for you on the front, and it is blank with just a few decorations on the inside. And of course, we have a matching envelope because, you know, that's what I do. All right, so let us, I want to take just a moment. I'm going to set this aside, and I want to take just a moment. Hey, Valerie from Canada, so glad that you could join us. You are going to love the embossing paste. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, I wanted to go back over when this Thinlit set first came out. I did a video talking about all of the different kinds of combinations and permutations. There, a little bit of my engineering background coming back out, of putting all of these dies together. And I recommended to y'all that you take a few minutes one afternoon when you don't have anything else to do, make you a couple of 3" by 3", I think that's what those are, hang on, 3 1/4. 3 1/4 inch by 3 1/4 inch pieces of cardstock, really doesn't matter what color, and just go through and start cutting out all of the dies. Now, you can do like I did in that first video, and like I've still got, one of these is still marked. It does help until you kind of get used to them. If you just label each one of these little dies so that you can keep track of how you made each one of these these designs. So for example, back when I first built this, this was A, this is B, and so when I put them through the Big Shot and embossed them, this was the shape that I got. And so all I did was mark A plus B on there, and then I just kept them. And I did that. Then I did A plus B plus D, which was this little die. And I simply did that for each combination that I could think of. And I just kind of went through it. And that has helped me immensely. The only thing amazing about it is that I didn't throw these away when I got done with that video. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. And so I kind of keep them handy, and every time I pull this set out with the Eastern Beauty stamp set, I pull these out, and it helps me to come up with the way I want to use them on each card. And I did exactly that with this one. So I was able to determine before I ever started what kind of an arrangement that I wanted to have. Hey Jean, thank you for joining. I'm so glad that you came on. We like first timers almost as much as we like our folks that have been with me from the get-go, and I appreciate that. So let's take a look. This design used this die, and it used, oh, let me get these out of the way, these two dies. This die cuts these little leafy hoo-has, and then this die cuts the whole thing out. So we'll need those. And then the Marina Mist layer is this set of dies. This inner one cuts out again, the technical term, the hoo-has. Hey Paula, I'm so glad you made it on. Thank you for joining. And then this one cuts the shape out. So I'm going to do that. I'd been kind of trying to get away from doing on-camera big shotting, but I'm going to do it because, well, you know, sometimes you just got to take a chance, right? All right, so let's go ahead and pull the Big Shot out, and we're gonna make our shapes. First off, first jump out of the box, all right? Now, this is gonna slide just all over the place and just be a whole mess, but it is what it is. Bear with me, okay? All right. Now let me get these out of purgatory over here. My goodness, I made a mess. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut one of these in smoky slate, and I'm not going to use my do not cut one, and I'm going to try to be a bit of a card saver there. All right, let's get that through like so. Oh, I'll tell you what, Paula, we have not had spring-like weather here. Once again, it was a sunny morning, hot and humid like you would expect in Florida, and then it rained for like 3 or 4 hours all day. It was crazy. It's just now stopped. I don't know. I don't know what to think about Florida, about Floridia. Hey, there's a question for you. Why do they call people who live in Florida Floridians? Why wouldn't they be called Floridans? Or why wouldn't this be the state of Floridia? I don't know. I don't get it. Okay, now you can see that this is not cut out. We're going to snip that with paper snips in just a minute. But first I want to go ahead and cut all of my pieces and parts out so that I can put Mr. Big Shot away. Let's see, I bet I can actually do this again. Now, let me be sure I cut the right shape. Cut to the right shape with this from this color. Alright, I'm dropping stuff all over the place. Okay. So the fun thing about these is that they kind of just nestle up together like that. Alright. Now, if I was at home, I would probably use my magnetic platform, but I made the decision, I don't know why, to save space. Yeah, it makes no sense, even when I say it out loud. I had lots and lots and lots of space, but for some reason that and my die brush are the two things I decided to leave at home. Yes, I do not understand why. Okay, and you can see that this one cut out the whole hoo-ha. Let me grab something to get that up with. Sometimes It's a little sticky on my thing. About time for a new, oh, sorry, booger. Okay, I'm gonna sit down. You know, when I sit down, it's getting serious. There we go, okay. You know what, I'm gonna cut another one of those because that one is on top and I don't like it to look like that, so I'll just cut another one. Try to foil me, Mr. Big Shot, like that's gonna work. I'm smarter than your average Big Shot. Okay, let's try it again. Let's try this again, shall we? All right. So I think some of you might have read that on today's blog that I had a very wonderful, look at what I'm doing here, people. People, what am I doing? I had a very wonderful lunch with a new friend yesterday. This is a lady that I met because she ordered online from me out of the blue, and we got to chatting on the phone, on our email, and we discovered that she lives in Valparaiso, which is just up the street, just actually through the Air Force Base. And so we ended up getting together yesterday and we sat by some body of water that's an extension of the Gulf of Mexico. And we had a lovely lunch and we talked for 2 hours and we just talked and talked and talked and talked. You would have thought we had known each other for our whole lives. It was lovely, just lovely. Couldn't believe it. The set of books that my mother sent me for my birthday, called the Beloved Mitford series, by Jan Karan. She had read the whole series and loved it, and I am just starting the series and loved it. She'd gone to Ireland, someplace I've always wanted to go, as has my mother. So it was just, it was a really, really nice day. I was, I want to say mystified and amazed, but that makes it sound like I wasn't expecting her to be a nice lady, but I was mystified at how comfortable we were. All right, so the last piece that we're going to cut is the final layer. Oh yes, you're right, Paula. I was not holding my mouth just right, and you saw the result was a little torn piece of die. Okay, now we're gonna get this one cut. And once I do that, I will get this ginormous thing out of the camera and we can get it, because this is about the only hard thing on the whole thing. Well, okay, yes, it's true. I am actually going to wind silver metallic thread on glue dots, and I always look a little bit like a spaz. So I hope I won't look completely foolish to you guys tonight, like that's ever stopped me, right? All right, let's pick him up. There he comes. Since I got my tool out, he decided to yield the floor right away. All right, and then I'm just gonna run these back through. I try to run my platform and cutting pads through and leave them in there so that the roller can help them stay flat. All right, now. Ah, Jean, the cookbook. I'm assuming you mean the Mitford cookbook, and I think Sandy mentioned that as well. Do you have it? I'm assuming. Everybody's read that? Ah, how cool. Now, I got to tell you, if my mom hadn't sent them, I probably never, ever, ever would have picked them up. I just wouldn't have. They would have been so far out of my cross-check in the Kindle store, I probably wouldn't have even seen them. So I am now even more grateful to my mother than I was to discover that it's going to be such a good read. She sent me, it was, well, you guys obviously like to read, so you understand the thrill of 2 boxes filled to the brim with the entire series. So you don't even have to wait. You can get through number 1 and then you're gonna go to number 2 and then you're gonna go to number 3. It's amazing. I love that. Okay, so we now have 3 pieces cut out right here, and you can see these are the top 2 pieces. Give them a little bit of a flip there, like so. And they're gonna stack. Now, what to do with this little doohickey? Now, here's how. This is one way you can cut this out to make a doily, because, oh, by the way, you can also do the same exact thing with the other large piece that is in the set. So if you cut this die like so, and then cut each of the little attachment points there, then you end up with what really kind of looks like a doily, and you can do it in any color that you like. So just saying, just throwing that out there for your use in the future. All right. Hey, Christina from Tasmania. Now that is cool. Thank you so much for joining us. What time is it in Tasmania? I'm thinking it's another day entirely. So you can see all I'm doing is reaching my little snips in there and snip, snip, like so. Now I can pretty much assure you, I mean, it seems reasonable to assume that since I have done this approximately 100 times, while not on camera, and never once cut places I didn't want to, I would just about bet that I'm gonna screw it up and cut the wrong thing. Sue, the series is called the Beloved Mitford series. Hang on just a second. Now this is what happens when you're live. Just a minute. It's this right here. This is the Beloved Mitford series, and book 1 is At Home in Mitford by Jan Caron. I'm probably gonna say that wrong, but like so. This whole series is set in North Carolina. My mom kind of thinks up in the Blowing Rock area. It says early in the book that it's set at 5,000 feet, so it has to be up in the mountains somewhere, certainly, right? 10:15 on Monday. Okay, so yeah, a whole new day. Well, thank you for joining me so early there. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're just gonna snip this out, like so. Voila! And then when it gets all piled up, with a little bit of liquid glue, it's going to create our embellishment. All right. So, everybody's video still doing okay? I keep waiting for the hotel to say, oh, you've reached the end of your 30 days of enhanced internet. We're kicking you off. So sorry if it was right in the middle of your Facebook video. All right, so we're just using some liquid glue to stick those together, kind of try to turn them so that they, I don't think it probably matters, but I like the little points to be in little valleys. It's just a thing. And then put this last little guy on, and then we can put the card together. So this color scheme is kind of from the My Favorite Things color challenge. And I don't know that I'd have done it without the color challenge. I don't know that I'd have been quite smart enough to come up with this color combination. But once I got done with it, I loved it. I just think it's so pretty. All right, Kathy and Karen, thank you for that. I appreciate you letting me know. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure that's kind of straight. Kind of straight, and I'm gonna tip it like that, because all of a sudden my brain said that one has to stick out. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this aside for just a half a second so it can dry, and we're going to assemble our card. Here come the card cuts, folks, and everything will be posted on my blog tomorrow, more pictures of the card along with the card cuts and everything that I've used, so that you will have that available. So let me get these a little more organized than I had it, because, you know, I didn't. And so this is great. You remember last week how I had the mats cut the wrong size? Well, I did take the time to actually double check that tonight, and sure as shooting, I had cut the mats the wrong size again, so it's a good thing I did a pre-check. All right, so you have one each cherry cobbler card base that is 4 1/4 by 11. Scored and folded at 5 1/2 inches, and we'll just go ahead and double that up right now. Dallas Cowboys colors. You know, I have absolutely zero affinity to the Dallas Cowboys, but I do like them. I don't know why. I'm sure Linda will tell me soon that it's because they're the best football team on the planet. I'm pretty sure some folks in Georgia would disagree, but that's okay. All right, then we're gonna have 2 mats with smoky slate. And these are 4 inches wide by 5 1/4. Yes, I double checked. So these are for the card front and for the inner liner. You have 1 piece of Whisper white cardstock that is 3 7/8 wide by 5 1/8 long for your inner liner. And then I have a piece of the Naturally Eclectic DSP. I'm loving this DSP. I'm gonna have to get more of it already. I'm already out. This particular one, folks, if I screw this one up, we're gonna make the next one with a completely different card front because this is the last piece I've got. So this is the card front, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then we have a small panel that goes on the front for the sentiment, and it has a 2.5 by 3.5 inch mat, and then the sentiment itself is 2 3/8 by 3 3/8. So let us go ahead and begin. Oh yeah, and we have an envelope. We will go ahead and start adhering everything together with my fast fuse. I actually, right after I get the booger to come back out. Come here now. Come here now. I think we've had the discussion about the perversity of the inanimate object. There we go. All right, and we're off to the races. Now, you know, so I don't know about y'all, but I had to work today for a little while. Actually longer than I planned. Long enough, in fact, that I ended up buying pizza for the whole team because we'd all gotten to work thinking we were going to be done before lunchtime, and that did not pan out very well. So I bought pizza. Domino's was very happy with me. You would struggle to hide that bright, oh, so you'd like to have the bright side out. Yes, I know, but for this particular challenge, this is the right card. This is the right side to have out. Okay, and so now I'm just going to, now I'm going to do something smart here. It's not my normal thing, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a dry fit. A dry fit is a normal thing. Doing something smart is not necessarily normal. So all I'm going to do is a dry fit there. And then I'm going to take my little embellishment Dewey, wake my computer up, and I'm going to set it where I think it's going to go. Now I'm going to let it overlap just a little bit off to the card. So it will look like this, and you can even go to this extent for your dry fit. The other day I made a card and I had my hanging over stuff too far hanging over, so I had to do a little bit of removing and replacing. So if you do a dry fit ahead of time, then you can kind of get an idea how much you can overlap. I like things to overlap onto the card base, but it can't, obviously it should not extend past the edge of the card base, or it's going to be difficult to put it in an envelope, right? Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now, why did I do this? Why I did this is so I can pick up this whole shooting match right there. I can take the mat from the back, still holding it where I want it. Again, still, why is she doing that? Well, I'm doing it so that I can have a visual about where I want to put my, am I still in the screen, folks? Most sort of. So that I know where I want to put my sentiment, and it's right about there. So that allows me to see where I'm going to put my embellishment, get my sentiment snuggled right up against it, but not in such a place that it makes me push my embellishment out where I don't want it to go. Okay. So we'll stamp this right quick like a bunny in Cherry Cobbler ink. And we're going to put it right about there. Like so. All right. Boy, I'd love it when you pick that up and it's a good stamp. Don't you guys love that? I do. Alrighty then. Have I Skyped with Finn? You know, the very first day I was here, we did a FaceTime. Poor Finn, he went running through the house looking for me. He thought I was home and that he just couldn't find me. And I was in tears because I felt so bad for having fooled him. I didn't mean to fool him. So we haven't done that since because I don't want to upset him. I really don't. Because, you know, he's my baby. He's been dealing with that hot spot, and that's been kind of a booger. All right. Now that we have that, we'll mat it. I'm going to pull it to me. If it's out of frame, I'm sorry. Yeah, my tweezers are the bomb diggity, aren't they? You can get those right on Amazon. They are so old now that they've lost their little paddy things, but they're Eeks, I think, is E-E-E-K or something along those lines. But if you just if you search crafting tweezers, and they're not but $4 or $5, and I love them. It took me a second to get used to them being backwards, but I like it. Alrighty, so that is done and this is done. So now we will go ahead and snail that to the card front. So this is a pretty easy little card, folks, because the medallion thinlits does really the lion's share of the work, and the rest of it is done with the DSP. So, and let me just be sure I'm getting that kind of straight. By snailing or fast fusing most of it on versus popping all of it up with Stampin' Dimensionals, it's not a terribly thick card, even with the final embellishment on it. Okay, now here's going to come the part where I'm going to look completely awkward and unprofessional. I will apologize right from the get-go. I'm going to wind some silver metallic thread onto the back of my embellishment, my medallion. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to lay 4 or 5 glue dots. And yes, it's true, I may not use them all, but I've discovered if I've got a few extras, then I have a little bit of wiggle room, and I can make my loops look a little better. I have a hard time with this. You know, this is the card equivalent of Farrah Fawcett's hair. Farrah Fawcett always looked like she had just gotten out of bed, shaken her hair twice, and then it was perfect. And you and I and all of the rest of the universe knows that is not true. So I have trouble making winds of this thread where it looks like I've just wadded it up and then it's perfect. I just don't do it. I can't do it. So how I do it is I do this little jury rigging of with my loops of silver metallic thread, and I use those glue dots to help me keep it where I kind of want it. And I just wind it around until I think it looks about right. Now, anybody else have a better way to do it? Don't even tell me, because I'm pretty sure that I'm like 6-thumbed when it comes to these things. So I finally located a thing that kind of works, as long as the thread doesn't get all cattywampusized. Also, it helps if I don't get too head up persnickety, and you know, if I overthink it. Y'all ever overthink any of your cards? I never do, ever. Said no one ever. I overthink them a lot. And that's unfortunate because it takes me too long to make cards sometimes. Not because they're hard, but because I've hemmed and hawed and overthought them. Alright, that's starting to be about looking like, there you go. Yep, I will take that for $1. Alright, and then I'm going to cut the little tail off and put that stuff away. Every girl in America did want her hair. I wanted her hair. My hair is as straight as this piece of paper, and it is as heavy as a full bottle of glue, which is pretty heavy, just so you know. And it wasn't going to do it for anything. I've had more perms trying to look like that, and it looked good for like 1.2 nanoseconds, and as soon as I stood up from the hairdresser's chair, gone. I was so devastated. So then I thought I would change my perm, and then I got my little Orphan Annie look that I possessed for way too many years. Oh, it was not good. No, Farrah Fawcett and I, it was never going to work. Never going to work. Okay, now I'm going to put that pretty much right back where I had it. Like so. Like so, like so. And then I'm going to, you are welcome, Valerie. Yep, my threads, I love using them because I love the look they give, but they kind of bamboozle me sometimes. Okay, so I'm just using my craft pick to pick those little doodads back up. And y'all, if you make a comment or say something and I don't catch it, I'm so sorry. The way the computer works, it scrolls the comments down, and so sometimes I miss them. And then I'm going to add, as the final touch, I'm going to add a clear faceted gem. What do y'all think about these gems? When they first came out, I was like, I don't know. Do I like those? Do I hate those? It turns out I have kind of a love-hate. Sometimes I really love them, and then sometimes I'll use them and I think, God, Mary, what were you thinking? But in this particular instance, for this particular card, I actually like it quite a bit. And that, folks, is the card front right there. You love them, Robbie? That's good. I'm glad. I actually kind of do too. I'm not gonna lie. I love the clear ones. The gold ones, they have their spot. Okay, and that is the card front. So let's go ahead and make us a innard, shall we? Make us a innard. Yeah, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I have no idea. Okay, so we're going to take a 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 inch piece of Whisper White cardstock. Thank you. Oh, you like the glitter enamel dots? I know, I love them as well. I love that they gave us that ombre so that we can kind of pick what we're doing. Okay, so to make our inside, let me remind you of what our inside looks like. This is the inside, so we're going to first stamp those across the bottom, and then we will add a matted piece of DSP. All right, now here's a little trick. None of this is scientific, and I'm pretty sure I didn't come up with this all by myself, but when you're trying to spread stuff evenly across your card base, I have found that it helps to start at either corner. And again, this isn't going to be scientific. It is still not going to be perfect, okay? So if you're expecting perfect, you'll need to go to the Hallmark section of the grocery store, because that's where it is. Then just visually split the difference, and then split the difference again, like so. Do that on both sides. I don't even care if they're not perfectly lined up, because it wouldn't matter if I cared. I'd never get them perfectly lined up. And then just split the difference there as well. But I am going to try to see if I can make it look like I meant to do that by alternating how tall those are. Okay, I don't even think it matters. I think it looks kind of cute just like that. Put away my cherry cobbler ink for a second, although we're going to need it again for the envelope. And then I have a little strip of the DSP. It is 1/2 inch wide by 3 7/8 inch long, and its mat is 5/8 inch by 4 inch. And I'm going to use a little more of my liquid glue to adhere this to the mat. So don't need a whole lot. You know what happens if you use too much? It goes everywhere. Just remember, if that ever happens to you, do not panic. Do not reach down and start rubbing it away. Give it a second. I like to sometimes wipe off a little ooze with the tip of my my forceps doctor, my tweezers. But mostly what you kind of want to do is leave it alone until it dries, and then use your handy dandy gum eraser, right? Okay. All right. Pet that a little bit to get it on there. And then before I put it on the interior of the card, I'm going to adhere that to another smoky slate matte. Come here, fast fuse. Have y'all noticed that so many of the stamp sets now have front sentiments and inner sentiments? So they've got the second sentiment built in for you, which I think is so cool. I like a good blank card. Actually, I like a lot of blank cards. I make a lot of blank cards, but it's really nice. Oops. That fast fuse almost grabbed it right there. Did you see that? Okay. Now I'm gonna put that on, kind of hold it up a little bit until I've mostly got it lined up where I want. And then there we go. And then I'll use liquid glue again, because the liquid glue gives me a little minute or two to fix it when I screw it up. Not that I ever screw it up. My perfection at making cards is known across the land, probably even down in Tasmania. Everyone knows Mary never makes a mistake on her cards. Said no one ever. All right, there we go. And that looks pretty straight, so I like it. I'm not gonna mess with it. Now I'm going to put it into my card base. This ended up being inadvertently kind of a patriotic looking card with the colors, didn't it? Do I have a rhyme or a reason for which adhesive? Well, I like to use the liquid glue when I'm doing small things, and when I'm doing things that I might want to wiggle a little bit. I use the fast fuse or snail when I'm doing large pieces, like so, but you do have to kind of hold it a little bit so that you make sure you're straight. And then of course I use Stamp-N-Dimensionals for, well, when I want to pop something up. Did that answer the question there, Kathy? All right, there's that. And so now I'm going to put a whole slew of Stamp-N-Dimensionals. Thank you, Kathy. I like to decorate all the parts of the card. It just doesn't seem done to me unless it's decorated. So today you're even going to have to watch while I decorate an envelope so that I don't end up with a card where I need to go back later and make the envelope. So you'll just have to put up with me. I hope that's all right. Okay, another Stamp-N-Dimensional. Have y'all bought the minis? Do you love the minis? I love the minis. I love the little minis. The only problem for me with the little minis is that my big old fat sausage fingers sometimes have trouble with them. All right, now this is just a tip learned from long experience. When you're getting ready to put your card front on, first of all, I don't put my card front on until I have safely put the card liner on the inside. I've had to pull too many card fronts, okay? So then make sure, do a double check that you're putting the card front on right side up, because there's really nothing more depressing than having it all be beautiful and then realizing it's upside down. The only thing worse is making a landscape front and a portrait inside, because that hardly ever works. Never turns out well. All right. And then we'll just pop him on like so. All right. That's not exactly straight. Probably later I'm going to take my heat tool and go back and I will loosen the adhesive and straighten it up a little bit. But for now, that is the card. Like so. So let's do a quick decorate on the envelope. You know me, no naked envelopes. It is a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Okay, here we go. So a little more cherry cobbler. I love this color. Also, it helps to make sure you've got your envelopes right side up. Not that I have ever done it. All right, and then we're just going to put a few of these across. Same idea. Put them in the two corners. Kind of eyeball the middle. Do a quick bisect. My goodness, I'm just going for it with the math terms. Must have been at work too long. And then just keep doing it until they're all the way across. Not a very difficult or fancy card front, but it ties very nicely. I do try to, have my envelope kind of help me out, and if not mirror, then certainly complement or be similar to the inside of my card. Really don't know how I decided that, but I did once a long time ago, and so now that's what I do. And then on the flap, we're going to put another little piece of the Naturally Eclectic DSP. And so I'm going to tell you another one of my little foibles that I have gotten over. So not so long ago in a galaxy not very far away, I would have gotten a little bit head up about the fact that when I put this on here, my little dots on this DSP were going sideways, and my dots on my card front were going up and down ways. I've decided it just doesn't matter. Nobody except me knows that that was a thing. So now I just put it on how it is. I've wasted quite a bit less DSP this way. So you just give that a little rub. You got, I have Stampin' Dimensionalitis. That is where you get these little sticky things on you, and then you find them like in your bed, on the towel in the bathroom. It's crazy. I got them everywhere. I'm sure the housekeeping thinks I'm the world's messiest person. All right, and then we're going to give this a quick fussy cut. Like so. You notice I had to stop talking so I could hold my mouth right. Be sure I don't screw this up. You know the trick for this fussy cutting. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Turn the paper, not the scissors, and keep the cutting back towards the back of the scissors. Don't try to cut up here, it doesn't work. And that, as I say, how did I get over that? I don't know. You know, Karen, I just truly don't know. I just finally decided it didn't matter. I think because once I set it up to make a picture like so, and when I looked at it, I realized it just didn't matter. It was still pretty, and it was okay. Now, a couple of exceptions. Do you remember the pretty Christmas paper we had that had the music on it? If I had, I would never put the music on this way. The music had to go this way because that was right. This was wrong. This was right. So that's how it is. So there you go, folks. There is the Eastern Medallions. Thank you for that, Jean. Perhaps I will send you this crookedy card. I appreciate that. I hope that you got something out of my ideas on making yourself a little... These are like flashcards. Yeah, that's it. Eastern Medallion Thinlits flashcards. I think it's a very good idea to have these handy and have them around. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I go to them and say, oh yeah, if I use this, I can put a sentiment in the middle of it. If I use this, I can do that. So it's handy to have, and I hope you will take me up on that. And so I am going to say farewell and good night, and hopefully I'll be back next Sunday to tell you the honest to God truth. I do not know what the schedule looks like for next weekend. I do know I'm working across it, so hopefully I'll be able to come back on at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock Eastern next Sunday, but if not, I will update you via my Facebook page. Thank you all for spending your evening with me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. I don't know why I talk like that. Bye.